Hoosiers for Conservative Senate more and above what I've said, but I'm open to any questions you might have.
You talked about vetting someone. Can you explain just briefly what that is?
Well, you need to totally, now Treasurer Murdoch, for example, he really doesn't have any legislative voting track record because he's not in the legislature, he's straight state treasurer. So you have to really go back as far as you can in his life to see how conservative he is. And some of it's through questionnaire. You know, what are your viewpoints? And each group can do that. But Freedom Works would be willing to really do an exhaustive check on him. And it's not fair, but Republicans, conservatives, always are run through the ringers. Democrats, liberals, if they've had some minor indiscretion in life, that's okay, they can do that, but we can't. And if it comes out, it will just, and I'm not saying there's anything there. I like the man, I really do. I've met him several times. He's very personal. I'm sure you guys have met him. He was in Terre Haute last August at an event that I was with, and Christy and so forth. Nice guy. But do we know everything we need to know about him? I would say no, simply because no one's done a thorough and exhaustive vetting process. So now what Senator Lugar's camp will do, they'll be looking for dirt. I'm not saying that's vetting, but if there is something out there, that's what you need to try to find out. He's going to look for anything that'll discredit him. It's just politics. It's sad that that's this country, because nobody in this room is perfect. We're not. We've all had mistakes in our life, but they are going to hold that candidate to the highest possible standard. And nobody will vet Lugar because he's our esteemed six-term senator, so he's not going to have the same criteria that we have to have for our candidates. So now, the quote decoy candidate, we have to know who that is. You know, it could be a guy come out there and sounds real good. You like him. He's popular. He's handsome. He communicates well. He's conservative. Oh, look nice with family. Just what a great guy. He could be the decoy candidate. So we need to know that too. And you guys can do that by meeting him to some degree. But I am of the contention we have to ask our friends that can do that for us. And our friends are Freedom Works, Club for Growth. Chris Chicola told me, he said, we will do an exhaustive vetting process. Let them. That's what they're good at. They have the money, let them. Sure, you still want to have them come to your group if they'll come, and trust me, if they'll come. Guess what? Senator Lugar's now making the Tea Party rounds. Go figure that. I wonder why. He never came to Indiana before. Might be scared. I don't know, just a guess. But so have him come. If he comes, talk to him. But do it in a controlled, don't give him the mic, do it in a question and answer. Put him to the ringer and then make him sweat. Make him earn your vote if you're going to vote for him, but do it to all the candidates, whether it's just Lugar and Murdoch or anyone else, try to get them all. And that, Hoosiers for Conservative Senate is not going to prohibit that. We've had a few people say, well, we won't get the candidates to come to our group because they'll come to you guys. Us guys are you guys. I mean, we're not a Tea Party group per se, and we're trying to have the candidates come. Us is all you guys, everybody. So yes, that's how you should do it. And you can get immediately talk to someone at Freedom Works. They'll talk to you now because we've opened the door for them, and they're keenly interested. So if any of you guys would call them Monday, they'll take your call. They'll listen. Talk to them. They're a wealth of resources, and they were in the conservative movement for the last 20-some years. So yes, they're working with the Tea Party now, but they've got a longer track record as being political activists than any of us do. So utilize that.
What does the senator use as his residence address?
Pardon me?
What does the senator use as his residence address?
He is in Alexandria, Virginia, which most politicians are somewhere in the D.C. area, but he has a farm in southern Marion County being Indianapolis. But and this was news to me too, but you don't have to have an official residence here as far as a senator. And some people told me that's been grandfathered.
He hasn't sold the farm?
He owns the farm, yeah. So he does own property, but he does not live here. He lives in the Marriott Hotel in downtown Indianapolis when he comes to Indianapolis. My thought is, and again, it's just me, but if I represented this state, I'd live in this state. I'd come home often because I'm a servant of the people. Now I question, is he serving us or is he serving himself? So no, he has property here, but he does not have a residence.
I think we should all write letters to the editor
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I think we should all write letters to the editor of our local newspaper in the Indianapolis Star and Wilmington Herald Times. Write letters to the editor.
Yes.
About the Tea Party, the fair tax, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that's a great strategy. A lot of Tea Parties have employed that for the last 2 years, and that is part of the Hoosier Conservative Senate's suggestion that all the Tea Parties, your local newspaper here, and I know newspapers are a dying thing, but where they still exist, write them on your own as your individually, but affiliate, Tea Party, Owen County Tea Party, so forth, but address an issue. Start with START treaty, maybe 2 weeks later with the DREAM Act. They're not going to publish them all, but if you could imagine the whole state doing that in every newspaper publication, could you understand how much air time, print time we're going to get? If there's a local, fairly decent radio station, whether it be here or in Terre Haute, wherever, try to get on. Just call them up. They're always looking for something that's juicy. You give them a nice subject, hey, we're going after Senator Lugar. They're going to let one of you on. And I was fortunate enough in Indianapolis on WIBC, I had Dick Armey with me, and of course that's how I was a sidekick. They didn't have me, they had Dick Armey, I just tagged along. But guess who, and that was on a Friday, we had Freedom Works at an event in Indianapolis in March, and that was on a Friday, and on Garrison's show, it's called Open Line Fridays. They don't have guests, ever. Well, they did that day, because I asked them if they'd like to have Dick Armey. Well, guess who their second guest was at 9:30? Senator Lugar. That was fun walking out of the studio into the lobby, and the senator looked at me, and I looked at him, see ya. He knows who I am, and we know who he is, obviously, and but they will do that. In Indianapolis, the WIBC, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the top radio show in Indiana, but Terre Haute's got one. Fort Wayne has a big one, and I'm sure there's some other ones. And even if it's just a small little one, get on there if you can, talk to them. If you do their work and you talk to journalists on the newspapers, just get to know them, and they'll write the stories. Sometimes they're not always as accurate as you explain to, but on airtime it doesn't lie. I mean, the air live mic's a live mic, so if you can get on that, do that. But work collectively to do that. Work with the other groups in your district to do that. But could you imagine letter writing campaigns? And most of you are probably privy to this, but back in, you remember our former Senator By, well, when I first hooked up with Freedom Works, they told me, don't go after him because you won't win. He's got a big war chest, he's popular, he's handsome, and both Republicans and Democrats alike like him. And we knew that was true. But one of the beauties of the Tea Party is that American spirit. We can do anything. Now that's being crushed by our government right now to put a thumb on all of us. That's deliberate. But the Tea Party embodies that spirit that we can do anything. So collectively in Indiana, and that wasn't really working in unison, but collectively in Indiana, the Tea Parties were sending Evan By 8,000 pieces of correspondence a week saying, we're going after you if you don't straighten up. Now I was in his office in DC with 7 other Hoosiers, and we asked him point blank, will you vote for the health care bill? And not once, but twice, he said, no. Where I come from, well, we call that a lie. So we're going out, and so we went after him. Now, you ask the talking heads and you ask the GOP why he quit, and they don't say the Tea Party. But I have firsthand information from my congressman. He said the word on the Hill was, Evan By went up to President Obama and said, I can't blindly support you anymore because I'm getting beat up from home. They're calling me, they're writing me, they're coming to my office, which when we went to see him, he told me, you guys don't have to drive out here to see me. You can just call or write. I said, oh no, we'll be back. And he didn't like that. And that was our employee. And guess what? He retired before he was going to get fired. Make no mistake, he did not quit because he was tired of the lack of bipartisan. No, he's as partisan as anyone. There was a good chance he would have lost. In fact, I think he would have. So it's just common sense. But the Tea Party did that on their own. Now, could you imagine, and not working really in unison, so could you imagine what we could do with Lugar if we all worked together? We'll beat him. We'll get the credit. The Tea Party will get the credit. We didn't get any credit for Evan By, and I know we impacted that. I know we did. So let's do this, and let's beat him, and let's all say, we in Indiana, Tea Party, did this. I'll let you know another thing. 7 states, Tea Parties in 7 states have called us saying, how have you done it? I said, well, we haven't done it yet, but what they're asking is, how did you get 72 groups in one room? I said, well, one, we believe there was some divine intervention on that, but I said we had one mission only, and it'd be over. This entity, Hoosiers Conservative Senate, will disband on May 9th of next year. It's one entity. Beat Lugar and replace him with a true conservative. That's it. Now, if we made this all encompassing and saying, I'm the Tea Party guy in Indiana, it's going to fail. It would have failed already. I'm not. I'm one of all you guys. I'm just honored and privileged that you guys asked me to be here. But any of you guys can do this, and you should do it. We need every one of you, and there's plenty to do, and no matter what time commitment you put into it, even if it's 5 minutes a week, we need that. Could you imagine what 5 hours a week would do? Just multiplied in this group times, we think there's 95 groups in Indiana roughly, and that was another beauty of our initiative. We asked and sent out letters and everything, correspondence. Tell us who, you know a group, let us know. And we came up with 95 roughly groups that we know of in Indiana, and we did a little demographics on it, asked about the size of your group, how long you've been in leadership, the members of the leadership, and so forth. And we came up with the figure that there are roughly 35,000 Tea Party activists in Indiana. When I say Tea Party activists, I mean people like all of you guys in this room. They are actively involved. 35,000. That was something, had we not done this, I think was a guess. Nobody really knew. So 35,000. How many each of you people here today, how many people can you influence in your circle of influence or sphere of influence? I used to say 10, maybe 20. Now, being in the Tea Party, maybe 100. But let's say 10. If all of you guys could sway 10 people to vote or see what's wrong with the country and maybe vote the same way with you, that's 350,000 people. Don't you think that might sway an election? A federal election? Yeah, it will. If he has 350,000 votes that don't go for him in May of next year that did before, he's going to lose.